As a wolf without a wolf spirit, I agreed to an arranged marriage for the sake of the pack, only to run into my ex and his former lover at the gates, Olivia's Povey. Olivia, what happened? Why did you suddenly change your mind? Theo, the alpha of our pack and my brother, asked, his voice steady but laced with curiosity. You have always refused this arranged marriage before, especially since he's an alpha from a different pack. So why are you agreeing to marry him now? His intense gaze locked onto mine, sharp and probing, as though he was trying to read my thoughts. Being an alpha, I knew he could sense something was wrong, but I did my best to hide the storm brewing inside me. I forced a faint smile, swallowing the bitterness clawing at my chest. Nothing happened, I replied, keeping my tone light, though it took every ounce of strength to mask my emotions. But I just realized it's the right thing to do. You were arranging this for the good of the pack, and I know you would never put me in harm's way. Besides, I trust you, Theo. He let out a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing. He gave me a small nod, as if relieved by my answer. Stepping closer, he placed a hand on my shoulder, his commanding presence filling the room like an unspoken reminder of his authority. But when his eyes met mine, his expression softened, a rare look of pride, almost like he was silently saying, "You've done well. At last, you'd have agreed," he said with a small smile. Do you know this is for your own good, right? For the pack's future too. I just want what's best for you, since I know you have always doubted yourself for being wolfless. Do you want to meet him now, or do you need more time? I shook my head quickly, avoiding his gaze. Lor, no, not now, maybe soon. Or two, he said with a nod. Arsit, I'll let him know you've accepted the proposal. This will be good news for the pack. I can wait to announce it when I gather everyone for the ceremony. With that, he turned his footsteps firm and steady, but just before he reached the other room, he paused and glanced back at me. By the way, Fund, have you heard? She's back. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Who? I asked, though deep down I already knew. Isa, he said, the name cutting through me like a blade. Memories came flooding back, painful, searing, and impossible to ignore. The name echoed in my mind, bringing with it a wave of emotions I thought I had buried. I couldn't respond to what my brother had just said before I could even think of a reply. He spoke again. I invited Axel over earlier, and he mentioned that Alizia's back, he said casually, as though the words weren't about to rip my world apart. Quote, I thought we could have dinner here at the house later before I announced to the pack that she's returned. You know she had gone missing, right? After the hunt and we thought something bad happened to her, after she left went well, you saw how devastated Axel was. I bit the inside of my cheek, holding back the flood of emotions threatening to rise. Theo kept talking, unaware of how his words weighed on me. He doesn't know, of course. He'd kill Axel if he found out about us. He shook his head, recalling Axel's broken state. But it Rex good she's back now. Maybe things can finally be good for them. I stopped listening. My brother's words blurred into the background, and I smiled bitterly before turning away. As he began preparing for Axel and Aliasek's visit to our territory, I focused on holding myself together, because of course I already knew I had been there when Aliasa left. I had been there when Axel was left shattered and broken. I was the one who stayed by his side, comforting him when he needed someone. And now when she was back, as if none of that ever mattered, a sudden knock echoed through the house. My heart jumped to my throat, and instinctively I began to step away. I had an idea who it was, and I wasn't ready to face it. But Theo's commanding voice stopped me in my tracks. You get the door, that's probably them. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to steady my trembling hands as I approached the door. I braced myself, knowing I had to look calm, unaffected. When I opened the door, there they stood. Axel was in front of me, his familiar presence stirring memories I didn't want to relive. My eyes drifted down, and there it was, his arm wrapped securely around LS's waist. Something inside me twisted painfully, and I fought to keep my expression neutral. It was just the sight of her. It was the way he held her.